Mr. PA, I wanted to start with you, if I could look around Max's big head. So you said something in your testimony that I thought was really important. You said that the lack of processing and refining often poses a greater threat than the actual supply of critical minerals themselves. And I've absolutely found that to be true. In my district is the Mountain Pass Rare Earth Mine, which is the only active rare earth mining and processing facility in not only the United States but North America right now. So they really fill a critically important niche in our national security and our access to critical minerals. But I can tell you, and also to your point, they've developed an incredibly innovative technique for processing the rare earth materials on site rather than transporting them and processing them elsewhere, which I think is really admirable. But in my time in Congress, it seems like every year something comes up with that mine having trouble with sometimes it's federal agencies, sometimes it's state agencies, sometimes it's local agencies, sometimes it's a permitting problem, sometimes it's a problem with emissions, and it's just they struggle every single year, and most of those impediments are government caused. What can the department do to help companies like MP Materials that owns that mine keep that kind of mining and processing facility here in the capability here in the United States?
Yeah, so Mountain Pass, a very important resource for us, and to your point, ships nearly all of its rare earths to China. What we need to do is focus on expanding the U.S. supply base, and doing that through traditional mining, through improving our traditional mining, through things like unconventional feedstocks, recycling, having more secure international partners, and then all the projects that DOE is working on throughout the supply chain. It's a private-public partnership when we do these things, and in moving things to commercialization as quickly as possible is really key.
I hope we can all keep working together on that. It's a real problem. Also, next, wanted to ask the whole panel a question that has really been weighing on my mind, and that's very pertinent to this topic of critical minerals, because so many of the critical minerals now are going into the supply chain for electric vehicles. And we started with a problem of supply with electric vehicles. We had a Natural Resources Committee hearing last year in which the testimony was we'd need to quadruple worldwide copper production to convert the current year's manufacturer run of vehicles to all electric. And now, as time goes on, it becomes clear that we have a problem with greenhouse gas emissions, because if you include the emissions of mining the materials that go into the motors and the batteries and the emissions that are involved in recycling them at the end of their lives, it's not a slam dunk that EVs are cleaner. It depends on how much you use them. So, really it's gotten people thinking about what we can do to improve that. So give me some hope here. Is technology going to provide us with a solution to that? Or should we be looking at other technologies such as hydrogen? What does the supply chain look like there?
Congressman, I think it's really about looking at holistic intent and implementation once again. Kind of just to go back to your previous question about MP, I think there's a lack in follow-through in terms of permitting tied to federal awards of financing, right? I think that, MP has been the subject of multiple DPA awards. Why would there not be mandated permitting tied to that for implementation? Similarly, with technological implementation into the sector, and I don't think it's as simple as some would try to portray it as simply EV related. It's really more about technological innovation across the board, because these elements are just as critical in defense and technology implementation across the board. But what it really takes is essentially doubling down on the right technologies. We have to look at technologies not as science projects, but as options to commercialize and outcompete our competitors and to provide a better series of products, because that's currently what we have. That's what we're looking to invest in with GreenMet and other companies that we're working with. That's the way forward.
Right. Thank you. Well, in my remaining seconds here, let me just point out that the urgency of onshoring the production of those materials, particularly as it concerns solutions like electric vehicles where we're trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, because we can control the emissions of mining and processing that occurs here. If we allow the offshoring of that production, we are just also offshoring those emissions, and we have no control over how the emissions that do occur. And so I think that adds urgency to the testimony that we've received today. But I want to thank you very much for your service and your testimony here, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.